Hello guys, welcome to the Eat Like Ruby podcast. I'm here today with Shaq. Hey Shaq.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Thank you for coming back. So Shaq is here today, guys, once again. We are going to talk about so many different things today. So it's a little bit of a random episode where we're going to do a bit of like nutrition and training update, life update. Shaq obviously did the triathlon. I'm doing my gaining phase. We're going to talk about so many different things with that, but we're also going to talk about a couple of interesting things. This one will get everyone's attention, I think. Aggressive fat loss is one thing we're going to talk about today. So that's pretty cool, a little bit different.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about some of the training the gut stuff, which is interesting. I don't think we've spoken about that too much on the podcast before. And basically what's happening here today, guys, is Shaq and I have been talking about so much of this stuff at home, just with everything that we've got going on with our own nutrition and training. And so often we talk about it for literally like 20 minutes. And then I'm like, fuck, that would have been a great podcast. So we're just going to try and bring some of those chats to the studio today. And it's almost like in other episodes, if we've got a specific topic and then we start to ramble and go off topic, we're like, no, bring it back. Don't talk about that. Today we're going to talk about that. We're just going to go into all of the random things that have been happening with nutrition and training. And I think there's going to be so many little lessons and cool takeaways in there.
Yeah, definitely some lot of nuggets today.
Nuggets. Whoop, whoop. Okay, where do we start?
Well, we'll do like a marriage. You just tell me what to do and I'll start.
Good one. Haha. You're so annoying on the podcast. Let's talk about triathlon. So guys, if you are not interested in triathlon, we won't talk about it for too long, so don't worry about that. But if you follow along all the time, if you follow Shaq on Instagram, first of all, if you don't, it's coach_Shaq. Is it?
Yeah. That's it.
Pretty simple to find. Yeah. Find Eat Like Ruby and then find Coach Shaq. But if you listen to the pod regularly or if you follow us, you'll know that Shaq did the triathlon early March. I know it's now like end of April, early May, but we just had so much going on. We moved house. We literally got the keys to the new house on Thursday and then triathlon was Sunday. And then we spent like 3 weeks moving and then we had Easter, like just so many things. So it's just been hard to get you back in here to do the update. So I know we're about 2 months behind on the update. But Shaq did the triathlon. He survived. He's here to tell the tale, which is very cool. If people didn't hear that first episode or like that main triathlon episode, Shaq is like 25 years as a football player, retired from football, turned triathlete. And it's really cool.
Yeah, definitely a change of scenery, but to say.
Change of routine, for sure. You've been a runner for a long time, but like the whole triathlon thing was like brand new, really. Yeah. So anyway, he did the try. Now, we've got to talk about a little bit of the bittersweet elephant in the room.
Time. Yeah, so my goal was before I started to get under 3 hours.
Yeah, and you said that on the last podcast.
Yeah. And my time was 3 hours and 1 minute.
3:01.
I think officially was 3 hours, 1 minute and 40 seconds, which does grind my gears a lot.
It's so funny because it's like I knew literally when you hadn't crossed the line at the 3 hour mark, I knew you were going to be so annoyed. But then I'm like, you literally just did a fucking triathlon. You should be so stoked.
Yeah. So look, I'm happy that I got the tick and finished it, but
the time was so funny.
I definitely will be going back and doing it again.
It was funny because I had a timer set on my phone, so you can have the app for him doing the triathlon. Like you can set up the app and he's got like a little tracker and it'll give you updates like Ricky Jackson finished the swim. Now he finished the ride. And it just kind of lets you know at different intervals. And the running intervals were so random because the run was the final thing and it was 10 Ks.
Yeah.
And it literally would be like, Ricky's run 2.3 Ks. Now he's run 5.1 Ks.
Yeah, so it wasn't like specific,
really random times. And then I was watching your run time get a little bit slower and a little bit slower because your first one was fast. And I was like, okay, he's on. Like he's charging and he's going to make this.
Yeah.
And then they started to get a bit slower and a little bit slower. And then when it told me, I think it told me that you had 2.4 Ks to go and you had like 12 minutes to go, like for the 3 hour mark or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's literally so close because normally for you to run 2.4 Ks, you'd do it in under 12 minutes for sure. So I was like, he technically could do it, but I'm also watching him kind of drop off a little bit on these times. So I set a timer on my phone for 12 minutes. And then I was at the finish line and I was just watching the timer, watching the line, waiting for you. And then the timer went off and you went there and I'm like, damn it. And then you came down.
Yeah, so close. But like, definitely was an experience that I was happy to tick off. And like, I'm still annoyed about the time, but I will go back for that.
Yeah, and like, first of all, we just want to point out, if anyone's done a triathlon and they were like faster, slower, whatever, like we're not shaming the times at all. We're just saying like Shaq wanted to get under 3 hours and he was fucking 1 minute off.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. Like you did so well. It was so cool to see you do that.
Definitely like a different day for us, wasn't it? Like,
yeah,
not just going to footy, playing footy for an hour, a whole 3-hour event.
No, yeah, it was interesting to be a part of. And but it was just cool to watch you, like even to just watch you ride off on the bike and then to think like, if anyone knows like Sunny Coast, they went from pretty much the spit at Mooloolaba, like to watch you ride off and then think, okay, he's riding to Coolum and back is so crazy to think about.
It's wild.
Yeah, full on and really cool. Yeah. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Like,
yeah, definitely. I liked it enough, and I feel like it was more the mental battle than anything. It definitely was very challenging physically, but also mentally. It was just for that time period because I've never moved for that long in that one period before.
Yeah, it's wild. And I feel like we might have mentioned this on the podcast before, but I think for me personally, like you hear about people doing triathlons or marathons, Ironmans, 10Ks, whatever, and you don't really give it that much thought because like you just don't really care. Like, do you know what I mean? If someone says they're doing a triathlon, you're like, yeah, okay, cool, have fun. And then when you started to get really into it, it's just so interesting to really think about, like if we think about me going to gym, do like 12 reps and then have a 3-minute rest. Yeah. And then you do 12 reps and you have a 3-minute rest and whatever. And like, that's what I program so many of my girls to do. Like we do reps, we have rest. We're probably in there for like 45 minutes to an hour and a half max, like whatever.
Yeah.
It's so interesting and just different to really think about a person going, like when that buzzer goes off and you start, it's like you literally just pushing for 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like obviously, I mean, we could talk about this all day, but like I said, we weren't going to spend too long on it. That was one thing. What's next? Well, first of all, actually, I feel like we said it on the last one that you were on. You're doing the Noosa Half Marathon.
Yeah.
Which is 21 Ks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I done 21 Ks in I think about 5 weeks now, I think. Yeah,
well, when this podcast comes out, so we're recording this, guys, on Wednesday, April 10th. Side note, Nutella's birthday. Happy birthday, Nutella. Our little Frenchie, if anyone doesn't know. But this will come out, I think, end of April, start of May.
Yeah.
So you're doing that towards the end of May.
Yeah, 25th.
Yeah. And like obviously 21 Ks, I don't want to like take away from that because that's an awesome achievement, but you'll do that easy. Like you're a runner.
Yeah, I think I just want to do it to perfect it.
Yeah, but there's no, like, I don't think that's a huge, like, I don't say, you're not stressed about that.
Nah.
You shouldn't be.
Just one thing to tick off and just get better at it.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you can always get better, but I don't think there's a question. I mean, I didn't question you doing the triathlon, but, like, there's no doubt that you'll do the half marathon. Like, you run 40 Ks a week.
Yeah, I feel like it's to do it for the big...
G, the face from G. G, how many Ks do you run every week, G? About 8? Yeah. Yeah. Love it. How many Ks do you run, Rube? 0. Yeah, go G. Love it. Girl. But she just shot it. She's shooting a gnarly side eye at Shaq. Between podcast studio and gym. No, that's so funny. So that's happening in May.
Yeah.
But then
the big event.
The big dog.
So pretty much the half marathon is a segue into the next one. So pretty much
what's the next one?
Half Ironman.
The half Ironman in September.
September 8th on the sunny coast. So the total amounts is the swim is 1.9K, the bike ride is 90K, and then the run is 21K.
Yeah. That's pretty wild when we think about it. And obviously that's the half. So the full is double, which I know one day we're going to be sitting here doing a podcast about the full. But like that's crazy to think you essentially doing like all that big stuff and you're like finishing with a half marathon.
Yeah,
like
it's crazy.
That's something else.
This is the mental side of things. Like, okay, I got a 21 run K, finish this. It's exciting.
It's exciting. It's exciting. We've got different
just,
ideas about excitement.
Well, it's just that.
No, it's cool though because it's like it's your thing. Like you love it. It's like me being excited for muscle gain phase, and most people are like, "What?"
Yeah.
But like if it's your thing,
it's just
you're just frothing it.
It's that challenge that you don't really have that much. Because like during the try, that was past where I wanted to quit, 100%.
Yeah, but you wouldn't quit.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Yeah. There's no way.
Yeah, it's just so it's.
You're just actually not a quitter. I think people are just either quitters or they're not really.
Yeah,
there's no way that you would have actually just stopped that bike and been like, nah, I'm not going to finish.
Yeah, because I feel like once you get over that little hurdle, like I'm not fucking quitting. Like you just get that little second wind, and like it's just so. What's the word? Like more powerful for yourself. Like
empowering.
Yeah, that's it. And yeah,
me yawning, you put me to sleep.
Thanks, guys.
No, never mind. I'm back. What is there a goal for the half Ironman time, or is it more like just want to get it done? So wait, let's actually put into context because the triathlon swim was 1.5 and now the half Ironman is 1.9.
Yep.
So that's not too different.
Yeah.
It's like extra 400 meters. Like that's
not
doable.
too bad. Yeah.
The bike is more than double.
Yep.
So you did 40 and now you're going to do 90.
Yep.
That's big. That's a big bike.
So yeah, about 3 hours on the bike.
3 hours on the bike. Yeah,
Roughly,
wow. And the
take.
whole thing took you 3 hours for the other one.
Yeah.
So what is your overall like time aim?
Obviously I want to finish it, but if I would get around the 6 hour mark, I'll be happy. And I feel like doing the triathlon definitely gave me a lot more insight to what I need to work on and what I don't need to work on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's...
You swam really fast.
Yeah, but
guys, I'm apologising because I said we weren't going to talk about this for long and we're still going, but...
even that too, like I was fast, but I wasn't efficient enough. I felt like there's shit I need to work on, which I've been working on now.
But that's the point. Like, I don't think anyone does their first triathlon and goes, well, I'm the fucking best, so...
Yeah.
That's like literally the point is that you do it and you work out your strengths and weaknesses and then you go off and you work on them and
100%.
you do that for as long as you do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But half Ironman, it's literally a 6 hour event he's aiming for.
Yeah.
Yeah, wild. Something
can't
else. Okay, so let's talk about the big dog. Well, the Ironman's the big dog, but the big dog people probably want to hear about. Aggressive fat loss.
Yeah, so obviously I was definitely in my lightweight doing the triathlon, and I just wanted it for performance sake. Obviously went to my OG nutrition coach, and I wanted to get better at moving a lighter weight. So
this is what we've been talking about heaps.
Yeah.
So you were pretty much like, you've always said to me, if you don't mind me staying on the podcast, I'd love to just lose the last little bit on like my stomach kind of, what do they call it? Like muffin top area is probably what chicks call it.
The roll. Yeah, the tie roll.
Tie roll. Okay, is that what we call it? So you're obviously, if people don't know, 2 meters tall, sit around the 100 kilo, give or take, like sometimes a bit over, sometimes a bit under. Obviously you've been a lot heavier for football in good, like intentionally, but also unintentionally. Like you've had a bit of a journey with that, but for years you've sat around the 100 mark.
Yeah.
But literally, guys, like has a live-in nutritionist and would just say to me like 3 times a week, I'd love to just lose this last little bit. I'd love to just lose this last little bit. And then you're so lean anyway, like everywhere else. I just want to make disclaimer. I don't think he needs to lose anything, but I was hearing about it every second day for 10 years. And then I said to him, it'd be interesting to see how you feel performing and running, whatever, if you did actually lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the thing with you is like, if you got much like too light, like it's going to have a negative impact if you get too light. Yeah. Like if you got down into the 80s,
you'd be way too light. You'd
be weak and skinny. Like it'd be hard to do a lot of the things that you do. You'd probably maybe feel good running. That's probably about it.
Yeah.
But so I said to Shaq, like he's always kind of like 100 has been like your sort of lean leanest, lightest for a long time. And I was like, it'd be interesting to see how you felt running around like 94, 95 kg. Yep. And the cool thing I think to talk about here is, yes, there's a bit of like, obviously you want to drop a bit of body fat, but this is actually weight loss that we're looking at here. And this is what's so interesting, because obviously with a lot of like females, and when we look at body composition and stuff like that, we talk about the opposite. We're like, don't stress about weight loss. We want to think about body fat loss and the actual way you want to look and the way you want your clothes to feel and all that. Like that's the goal for most people that come to me for nutrition and training, right?
Yeah.
So we say like, this is where we see people saying like, scale doesn't matter. And this is such a perfect example of nutrition and training and all of the things that we say never being a one size fits all. Like I will never make a post or go out there and go, the scale doesn't matter, right? Because we say so often to people like the scale's not the only thing that matters, the scale's not the only thing we want to look at, etc. But it's still a part of the equation. And that's like, I get annoyed when I see coaches just saying like a blanket statement of like, weight doesn't matter, scale doesn't matter. Because in some situations it actually does.
Yeah.
And like this can go in so many directions, but like when we're looking, like I said, it like for myself, weight doesn't matter.
Yep.
Like I'm in a healthy weight range. I don't need to lose weight. Anytime I want to make changes to my body composition, it's because I want to look a certain way.
Yep.
It's not that I need to lose weight, or like my weight, the actual number that I weigh is irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's like I want to have a certain amount of body fat, or I want to look a certain way, etc. For you, and the reason I'm crapping on about this is because for you, there actually is benefit to dropping weight.
Yeah.
Because you're running fucking 21 kilometers. It's going to be easier at 94 than it is at 104.
Yeah, 100%.
Like it actually is. Whether that weight comes from like body fat, fluid levels, a bit of muscle mass, like whatever. Obviously, you don't want to predominantly drop 10 kilos of muscle mass. But if you dropped like a combo of all those things that accumulated to you losing 10 kilos, and it was significantly easier for you to run with 10 kilos off you, that's a lot different than a person nitpicking 200 gram fluctuations on the scale when really their goal is to look leaner.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
100%.
So I just think this is a cool example of like I hate that thing that people throw out there of like scale doesn't matter, weight doesn't matter. Weight can absolutely matter at some times, and this is one of those times.
Yeah, 100%. So many different things for it, and yeah.
Yeah, it's
totally
just
agree.
you just got to. I think some people are so conditioned to just thinking that everyone is eating and training for aesthetics and for looks.
Yeah.
And it's important to think, well, no, they're not. Like you're eating and training right now, like 100% for performance. And like, yeah, there was part of you that was like, I want to lose the tire roll or whatever you call it, spare tire. But you've been saying that for years and you haven't done much about it. Like you haven't actively gone out of your way to do anything. But then when I was like, you'd probably run a lot more comfortably without that.
Yeah.
That's what really prompted you. So you're not really doing it so much for the look. You're doing it a lot more for the performance.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's just interesting.
Yeah, to see how I move and like just perform better.
Yeah. And so let's talk about the aggressive fat loss, if you will. Yeah. So I said to Shaq, so Shaq kept asking me about this, like I want to lose this and I'm training and I'm doing a half marathon and then I'm doing the Ironman, and you literally train like 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And he was saying like he wants to drop a bit of weight. And then I was like, okay, well, you need to really think about the timing of this, because you don't want to go into a half marathon pursuing weight loss. Like we know weight loss is an energy deficit. You want sufficient energy coming in to run fucking 21 kilometers.
Yep.
Same thing with the half Ironman, and especially for the training for the half Ironman. Like you are pushing your body to something it's literally never done before.
Yep.
And you don't want to be like, hey, do this crazy thing, but I'm not going to fucking give you any energy to do it with. Like it just doesn't make sense. I've spoken about that before. So I said to Shaq, really what you want to do is find, like, for someone of your size and you know your numbers and you move a lot, and there's so much I could say about this, but we know how to drop weight off you.
Yep.
So I said to Shaq, it's not a matter of how to do it. It's a matter of when. You want to find probably, I think I said to you like a 3 to 6 week window.
Yep.
Like around 4, but just have a bit of room for more or less, where you can just knuckle down and go for it in an aggressive deficit.
Yeah.
The reason for that is because, and this is even another perfect example, there are so many people I would advise not to do an aggressive deficit. 90% of people I would advise not to do an aggressive deficit. For you, there's so many reasons I did, and we can talk about that in a second, but I said to you, you don't want to drag this out over 12 weeks because so many of those weeks are better utilized with a fuck ton more energy coming in to improve your performance.
Yeah.
Because you need to really look at a half Ironman in September and say, okay, if I'm going to swim 1.9, ride 90, run 21, I need to be able to do that in September. So in August, you need to be like close to those numbers. And then in July, you need to be close to those numbers. Like you got to reverse engineer and start building up towards that now.
Yeah.
Like your training has to keep increasing all the way up to September, really. Yeah. So what I'm getting at is you don't want to, if we look at that being 5 months, let's say, you don't want to spend 3 of those months building and building and building, trying to improve your performance in it, like fucking around in a moderate deficit.
Yeah. Honestly.
In my opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And like I said, the other thing is too, when we go aggressive fat loss or like aggressive deficit and aggressive weight loss, I should say, some of that is going to come from muscle. Like you're going to lose a little bit of muscle in this process, but you don't actually mind that because you are trying to drop weight.
Yeah.
It's not an aesthetic thing as much.
Yeah.
Is this really making sense?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. And so I said to Shaq, you want to find like a 3 to 6 week window where you can just go low cal, like what you know to be a deficit for you, even go a tiny bit further. Like if you know your deficit was 2,200, go to 2,000.
Yeah.
Like just fucking know that you get in it, nail it, know that that's your priority for those 4 weeks, get the weight off and get out.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because you don't want to drag that out. Like if you can do that in 4 weeks and then you can kind of keep in your mind like, okay, I'm not going to push anything crazy with training in this time. I'm not going to expect like crazy PBs and you're not going to go out and ride 100Ks tomorrow. You're going to be like, okay, right now, this is the goal. This is the focus. When this is done, I'm going to be able to go off and do those things at a much more comfortable weight.
Yeah, correct.
So there's just time for it. And even if we think about a lot of sports where they do this, like fighters spend most of their year 10 to 12 kilos heavier. And then they'll have a window where they're like, okay, I need to make weight for this fight. My number one priority right now is just dropping weight.
Yeah.
And again, it's not body fat. It's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I really want to point out here is like, obviously I know you pretty well, I'd like to think. I know that you won't fuck it up, honestly. And I say this with all due respect, but if someone is like, let's say, for example, if someone has been trying to pursue fat loss or they've been in like a moderate deficit and they're like, oh, I sometimes stick to it. I sometimes snack. I go off track on the weekends. I didn't feel like it today, whatever. If you just know that you're not that solid, pushing things more aggressively is a bad fucking idea.
Yeah.
Right.
Put you more in that hole.
And that's why I said I wouldn't advise like 90% of people to do this because you're going to make something that you're already finding hard even harder.
Yeah.
So you've got to be the sort of person, like I know for you, there's so much reason, there's so much intention behind it. You would either just fucking do it or you wouldn't. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So when like I knew like if you make the decision to go for it, you're going to adhere to it. Like how long have you been doing it for? 2.5 or 3?
Almost 3 now, yeah.
Yeah. Have you fucked it up once?
No.
No, exactly. And will you? Exactly. Like it just actually doesn't make sense because when you reverse, and really that's what it is. You reverse engineer and think, I want to do the half Ironman. I want to do the half marathon. I know I'll do it way more comfortably at this weight. I know that I don't want to spend forever getting that weight off. I know now is the time to do it. Let's just fucking do it.
Yeah.
Like it just actually makes sense. And I've spoken about this before if we go a bit off topic, but I said this will be the off topic episode. I've said before, you know, when people say like tips for motivation and how do I get motivated and whatever. People talk about motivation. I think that's bullshit. People then talk about discipline over motivation. I think that's bullshit as well. I think you really get to a point where you're just like, what makes sense for me to do for my goal? If I know I want to be in XYZ position, if I just reverse engineer from there, what actually just makes sense for me to do every day to get there?
Yeah.
And that's literally what you're doing right now.
Legit.
You're not like, oh, am I motivated for this deficit? Am I like, I'm disciplined, whatever. You're just like, I wouldn't fuck this up. It'd be done too.
Yeah. And yeah, definitely motivation is such a small part of things. When you get that reason.
Like you're pumped, you're excited, but it's bigger than that.
You generally get to that first step through the door. And then once you have the reason behind it, then the discipline comes into place where you just don't realize it. You just keep kicking along with it because you have a reason for it.
Yeah. It's just like, it just makes sense to me to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't want to shame anyone that's like lacking motivation or discipline, or you're trying to work on those things. Like, everyone's going to be in a different position to that. But if we think about Shaq doing a half Ironman, you don't sign up for a half Ironman, say, I want to try and do this in 6 hours, and then wake up every day and be like, I don't feel like it today.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a different type of human being that's doing this shit. So you've got to meet yourself where you're at. And that's what I was saying before. If you're someone who knows, I do struggle with dieting, I do like to have good moderation and good balance or whatever, the aggressive approach isn't ideal for that person.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. That is totally fine. That can lead to what we've spoken about so many times on the podcast, where people go hard, they fall off track every weekend, they go hard again the next week, they fall off track, they go hard. If you know that's you, that's where you just want to go, okay, the aggressive thing's probably not ideal for me. I'm going to find the flexible, moderate, balanced approach. Perfect.
Yeah.
Whereas for you, it's just, it made sense to do it a different way.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's just cool to clock that, like, and just know that it's not a one size fits all, and it's not a right and wrong thing. I mean, we've all heard me say a million times, there's no right or wrong, but this is such a perfect example where, you know, I've sat here for ages and said most people shouldn't do aggressive fat loss. You came to me and said, Rubes, I want to lose weight. And I said, you should make it aggressive as you can.
Yeah.
And like, I think people hear those things, and this is like just interesting thing for people to clock where you're at with your journey. Let it be okay that what works for one person might not work for you, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And there's going to be one approach that really suits you and one approach that really suits someone else. Being able to hold duality, like, I mean, being able to hold duality with anything in life is a fucking game changer. And if we don't know what that means, it's literally just being okay with there being two opposing truths. Like, aggressive fat loss or aggressive weight loss can be really beneficial, and aggressive weight loss can be really fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Both of those comments can actually be very true.
Yeah.
And they're very opposing. And be okay with that. I think when people come into nutrition and training, and I think especially when people are a bit lost with their nutrition and training, there's such a low tolerance to duality. Meaning, like, people are like, this is the only way.
Yeah.
Like, I heard this thing, or my friend did this thing, and this is the only way to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, can it be okay that, like I said, what works for one person might not work for another, and vice versa? And you've really just got to find what it is for you.
Yeah, 100%.
You're doing aggressive fat loss. You're 3 weeks in. What was your starting weight?
So starting weight, I can't remember what day it was, but it's 103.5.
Yeah. I think we'd been out the day before though. So I said to you, like, that'd be a little bit artificial. Remember we went to Boca the night before? So it's a bit of an artificial weigh-in. And like what we mean there, I think everyone can relate when you go out and have a big night or a big day or whatever, you get on the scale and it goes up by 2 kilos. You haven't put on 2 kilos of body fat from one meal.
Yeah.
It's a fluctuation. It's fluid. It's spikes. It's all the things. We know. We've spoken about this before.
Yep.
But like that was your sort of Monday morning, 103.5.
Yeah.
It's been 3 weeks.
Yep.
What are you weighing now?
98.3.
Shit, son. What's that? 5.2.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that's not crazy aggressive. Because I mean, it is, like, don't get me wrong, it's great, but let's also acknowledge, like, someone of your size. So a healthy rate of loss is between 0.5 to 1% of total weight every week. So for you, that'd be around like the 2 to 3 kilo mark. So obviously you're like nearly double that right now, so it's aggressive.
Yeah.
It is. And the reason, if we think about that healthy rate of loss, we can only drop so much body fat at a time. So when we start to go above that, we're starting to drop things like fluid, like muscle glycogen, like a bit of muscle mass, all of these things, which when a person has an aesthetic goal to look different, that is why we predominantly want to focus on fat loss, not weight loss. Because if you want to look different, and usually people want to look a bit leaner, a bit more toned and have less body fat, right? You want muscle mass, you want muscle glycogen, you want fluid in the body.
Yeah.
If you go aggressive weight loss, you start dropping the quote weight from all of those things that are going to make a person who's trying to look as best they can actually not look as best they can.
Yeah.
Because they're dropping weight from areas that are going to affect the way they look in a negative way.
Yeah.
So that's why I advise most people not to go aggressive fat loss, because like I said, the body can only drop so much body fat every week. So if you're putting it in such an aggressive deficit that it's like, well, fuck, I just need to, if we think about fat loss, like we'll get a little bit factual for a second there, just to remind people, if we think about a deficit, you're intentionally giving the body less energy than it needs every day.
Yeah.
So it pulls stored energy from somewhere. It's going to pull that from body fat stores. But if you're doing it so aggressively and so intensely, it's going to pull it from anywhere. It's going to just be like, fuck, I need to just get this energy. If you've got such an aggressive deficit in place, that's when we start to see it like pulling from anywhere and everywhere. And then, like I said, big numbers on the scale, big weight loss, but not leading to the physique that people want because you're dropping muscle, glycogen, all of these things that actually make us look better.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm the biggest advocate of focusing on fat loss instead of weight loss and actually looking at measurements and pics and all these things as well, not just scale weight.
Yeah.
But then we bring it back to you and it's like you actually don't really care about the measurements, pics or anything.
Yeah.
You want the actual weight off regardless of where that weight comes from.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a good lesson for people, even if you've got zero interest in Shaq or triathlons or Ironmans or anything at all. That's such an interesting lesson for people to think. If we push it too far and we start getting those big drops on the scale, it's potentially coming from things that you don't want to be dropping. And people get excited about those big drops. But you've got to understand, like, just because you're seeing a big drop doesn't mean you're getting big fat loss, and therefore doesn't mean you're getting big movement towards the physique that you actually want.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
So you, like, how much longer are you thinking you'll push that for? Are you trying to get to that 94, 95 mark?
Yeah, so I think goal would be for me be 94. So hopefully another 3-ish. Depends how I go.
Yeah, but it's even just one of those things where you're going to get there and then run a bit and go, okay, do I feel better here? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Do I need to drop more? Do I need to come back up? I remember we even did that for football. This is a great example. Like, Shaq got really light one season in football, and then I remember you were like around the 105 mark, and then you were like, I feel pretty fucking skinny and scrawny, and then like his coaches, everyone was like, get him back to like 108, 110. Like, he's too skinny for this event. So it's just a cool example of where, like, you know, lowest weight and all that doesn't really matter. And like, we can do these things and then we can get there and go, actually, no, maybe I would feel better if I was heavy. I'd perform better if I was heavy or whatever. I've even had this with girls in Eat Like Ruby who do train for aesthetics and for looks and stuff. And I've even said it with myself, where you diet down and you hit a really low number, but then you think, I'm actually kind of scrawny. I'm not loving my shape. Like, I've lost a bit of my shape and my curves and my physique and whatever. I want to come back up a little bit. And just like, let that be okay. And that's where I think the numbers attachment has to go.
Yeah, 100%.
I think numbers are great guidelines. And like, we had someone shout out to Rach in the fat loss phase because she literally hit the 20 kilo weight loss mark this week in the fat loss phase, which is fucking wild. It's a whole nother topic. It's incredible. But that's awesome. Like, I will absolutely celebrate that. And that's another reason why I hate seeing coaches say like scale weight doesn't matter. If you've got a person that's been overweight their whole life, struggled with it and felt very negative about that, and then they hit a milestone like 20 kilos lost.
That's amazing.
That's incredible. Like, we cannot say, oh, the scale means nothing.
Yeah.
That means everything in that situation.
Legit.
So I just can't even remember where I was going with that, but shout out to Rachel. I just think there's just good examples of like this. Oh, that's what I was saying. The scale can be great to kind of guide and watch alongside other things.
Yeah.
But it's not the be all and end all to like be a certain number and get to a certain number, because so often we get there and we think, I'd perform better, I'd feel better, I'd look better, whatever. At a different one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
It's just cool to see that.
You're getting after it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so even with that, we'll wrap it up. But like I said to Shaq, well, you've got the half marathon end of May. You want to, like, basically I said this to him around mid-March, and then he was like, it's either now, it either pretty much had to be now or it had to be straight after the half marathon. Yeah. So it wasn't too close to the Ironman. And Shaq was like, I'm just fucking doing it now. And he did it over Easter. Guys, we need to point out.
I was going to say that. I was hoping you'll say that.
Shaq literally started this on the Monday before Easter. Shaq has not had Easter eggs.
Yeah.
I'm stashing them. We've been buying them and I've been stashing them at the house.
It's just crazy when you have that.
I've got 2 in front of me right now.
That reason why you do stuff. And
But that's what I mean. Like, even if we think about, I said to you before, you were never going to fuck this up. You were never going to start that on the Monday and fuck it up for Easter, or you just wouldn't have started.
Yeah.
You'd just be like, no, it doesn't make sense for me to start today.
And it's funny how like times have changed. Because I think 5 years ago.
Shaq lives for Easter. You've said to me so many times, Easter's so much better than Christmas.
100%, because no one can overcook eggs. You don't have to go to a number of places. You don't have to worry about seeing everyone.
No one's burning the chocolate.
It's 4 days off. Chocolates on the Easter eggs on the couch. What's not to love?
This is so funny. But yeah, massive shout out to Shaq, who's just done aggressive deficit since the week before Easter and hasn't budged at all.
Yeah, and
mad props.
And then also, yeah, another shout out. 3 weeks to my birthday. So I'll be going past that.
Okay.
Guys, remember that.
Happy birthday, Shaq, for 2 weeks.
It's just how times have changed, and it's just, it's cool to see how everything changes with it.
I think it's just you've got such a clear goal. And it's a perfect example. It's like when, people say, what should my goal be? Or how do I get motivated? I just think you haven't found that thing that just makes you be like, as if I wouldn't fucking do this.
Yeah. Legit.
Yeah. Easter egg break for me. Anything else to say on that, Chuck?
I don't think so. I think that's pretty much it, yeah.
So you're just going to have an awkward silence while I eat an Easter egg?
Yeah, thanks. Should I do my quote?
Yes. Sorry, I've pulled the Easter egg out of my mouth. I texted Chuck this morning and was like, see you at the podcast studio. We need a banger quote from you, mate. So have you got one? Did you have one already, or did you have to think of it after you got the text?
I have seen one around. I do like it.
It better not be one of mine.
No. Just, see if you like. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. No one cares what you done yesterday. All it counts is what you did today to make yourself better.
No one cares what you did yesterday.
Yeah.
All it counts is what you've done today
to make yourself better.
Or what you're doing today
to make yourself better. Fan?
I don't mind it.
Don't mind it? It's
sitting with me. Thoughts?
What's G think?
I like it in the sense of I like it in the sense of, when people are like maybe falling off track with something, or they're like getting started and they're like, I've fucked this up for years, I'm this, I'm that. And it's like, you can't do anything about that. Like you can literally start right now.
Yeah.
And I think you see that often where people are like, oh, I did this on the weekend and then this happened, and like they're kind of scattered off track energy. What should I do?
Yeah.
There's a fucking one thing you can do. Go today. Just go. So I kind of like it in that sense.
So tick approval?
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually a funny little, like it triggered a little thing in my brain. One of the girls in the fat loss phase came in. The fat loss phase girls killed it with Easter, just as a little side note. I think I've spoken about this already, but one of the girls came in and she had just come back from holidays and she was a bit like killing it before holidays, just came back and she's like, oh, I'm a bit out of my groove and I'm trying to work out, like I'm trying to get back into my groove, like just want a bit of motivation, or has anyone got anything, whatever. There's a few girls that sort of came in and a lot of people said like start small, start baby steps, rah, rah, rah. I came in and said, I'm just going to 180 it. Don't start small. Fucking start, because you know what to do. Like this is a person who before holiday was killing it with training, killing it with nutrition, killing it with steps. You actually know that you can kill it with these things. Don't overthink it. Don't ask for advice. Don't ask for motivation. Don't start with one of them. Don't start small. Just literally get up today and fucking do it.
Yeah.
Like you know you can do it.
Yeah.
So don't, in my opinion, if it's like, oh, I'm just going to focus on water today. If someone's just getting started, they're overwhelmed, they're confused, they're really trying to find their feet, that can be great. This is a perfect example, duality. What works for one person, not for another. But for some people, it's important to clock. If we say something like just start with water, is that a massive fucking permission slip to be lazy as fuck with everything else?
Yep.
So often people are, I'm just going to start with one thing, and in the meantime, everything else can stay sloppy. And we even saw that in the January fat loss phase at the very start. We do sort of like a few weeks where they can access everything, but we haven't officially started just because it's January.
Yep.
So it's like you can get started pretty much anytime you like in Jan, and then we officially start at the end. So we had like all the weeks at the start of Jan where people were getting started at different times. And I just came in and said like, this is awesome, this is great. And again, if you're learning, if you're like easing into things, that can be perfect. Check in with yourself and ask, is quote easing into things actually an excuse for you to just stay sloppy.
Yep.
Because so often, if we think about that, if you're like, oh, technically we start at the end of January, but I've got everything now and I can kind of get into it now. Alarm goes off at 5 a.m. Oh, no, fuck it, I won't go today because I'm still easing in.
Yeah.
Walk past a packet of Tim Tams in the work tea room. Oh, well, I can have one because I'm still easing in. For as long as you're like, quote, easing in, you don't have to be all fucking in.
Yep.
And sometimes you just got to go all in.
Yeah.
Most of the time you just got to go all in. If you
100%.
really want to succeed with something, you got to go all in. So it's important to just clock like, am I tiptoeing around shit that I actually could just fucking go balls to the wall with and really kill it?
Yeah.
So I've just completely taken your quote and run with it.
Thanks.
But at least it sparked interesting combo.
There we go.
I liked it. Yeah. Any other nutrition and training updates? So Shaq has maybe a week or two more to go, aggressive fat loss. And for everyone following along at home, like he's gone full aggressive diet while I've gone full high cal muscle gaining phase.
We always do it though.
So I've been eating the Easter eggs. I've been having a great old time. I'm actually eating more than you.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's crazy.
It's what's funny with us is like we have phases. If we think about you at your heaviest, me at your lightest. You at your heaviest, me at my lightest.
Yeah.
You're like, we're like so far apart, and then now we're actually bridging the gap.
We're getting closer.
Yeah. So I'm deep in the gaining phase. I think I'm going until July 1st. So I've got probably like 10-ish weeks to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we might have a bit of an overlap where you're not aggressive dieting and neither am I. Maybe like a month or two.
Maybe once in 10 years.
Perfect. You're not like talkative today. It's just leaving me hanging at the end of everything.
Yeah, like
no,
I feel like
fine.
it's very so common these days though. Especially for us and like other people, like people like definitely partners. Someone's always doing one thing, someone's always doing another thing. It's just very cool to be like driven and not thrown off by it. Definitely if you're eating more food than me, it's...
Yeah, we're super supportive though.
Yeah.
Like...
Could even vice versa. When I'm eating more food and you're not, you never will tell.
No. Nah. But same thing, like you just have a clear goal. Like if I'm not going to stray from my goal just because you're having pizza, like I don't care.
Yeah. And yeah, because when you have the big key and like the mindset of like what you want and what you're doing it for.
Like the big drive.
Yeah. It kind of
Yeah.
takes control of everything.
Yeah. So right now my big drive is the gains. And
Gains.
yours is the shreds.
Lean City.
Love it.
It's, yeah, very cool.
Yeah. I feel like that's all from us. Is there anything else? What
Nah.
else do we always want to crap on about that we never do?
Oh, we'll probably walk out of here and think about something.
So many people have asked about the house. So many people are like, house update, house tour, etc. I just like, I'm never really like that sort of person. I never want to just do content about like my life. Like I always want it to be nutrition and training based, kind of. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. We did move house and it's great. We love it. I love the new house. I'm so stoked with the change and it's just a bit of a change in space and scenery and stuff. It's very cool.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm like a real homebody. Like I love having my house as like my private thing and just like clocking off for the day and like leaving the online world behind for a minute or two and just having my cozy little house. So that's why I never do like house tours and things like that. Even if you think about the old house, people would be like, oh, we saw it all the time. You saw the kitchen and the balcony.
That's it.
No one would have ever seen the bedroom, bathroom, nothing. Like, because I just feel like that's just like your private space.
Yeah.
Like it's just your life. I don't know. And some people do share all that stuff and that's like totally fine. Have fun, go off. But to me, I don't want to be like an influencer that's like house tour.
Yeah, true.
Like I want my content to be like nutrition, training, whatever.
And Nutella.
And Nutella. Yeah. Happy birthday, Nutella.
Right home.
Is Nutella's birthday, G? Today. Act accordingly.
Wow.
Switch on. Oh, G just says that so she gets paid for another week. All right. So yeah, we did move house. It's good. I'm feeling just like I feel like I might have even said this with G the other week. I just feel like we're like a little bit coming into winter and it's just kind of like.
Oh, it's getting cold now.
Yeah, but I feel like it's kind of cool in just like a, like stay home kind of go in. It's like an in vibe, like a cozy,
Yeah.
like everyone fuck off kind of vibe. I feel like, yeah, literally, G just said I'm working, but I feel like there's so many things that but like even just for me, I feel like there's so many things that I'm working on, like obviously with nutrition and training, with business, like G and I are working on so many things. Just like, it's just a very like go into your own bubble, get shit done, focus on yourself kind of era.
Yeah.
For me, anyway. I just feel like I'm going to come like busting out into summer. Like, hey guys, I'm back. Even though I haven't gone anywhere because I sit here every week and record a podcast and show up on Instagram every day. But I just feel a little bit like...
It's homebody style.
Just chipping away at all of my own stuff. I just have so much shit that I'm loving working on right now. And it's like so much work, but it's just work that I love. And it's just like when I think about... Literally the other day I was training at the gym and I was like, future me fucking loves current me. Like...
Yeah.
Literally just thinking about all of the things that I want to work towards and am working towards. I'm just like, fuck, come like October, November, I'm just going to be so stoked on the work that I did right now. And I just feel very focused on like staying in my own lane, doing my shit, getting it done.
Yeah. It's definitely so...
in a positive way.
Yeah. It's so good when you do it.
Yeah. So that's me just chipping away, just getting the gains. Okay, we just realized something that we didn't talk about, but we're going to talk about it next week. So we're going to sit here right now and keep recording, guys. We're going to do a Q&A episode. So we did the question box on Instagram. If you're not following the Eat Like Ruby podcast on Instagram, make sure you do, because we're going to chuck Q&A boxes up there for you guys to ask questions. We'll answer them on the pod. So we're going to sit here and do that right now, and it'll come out next week, and we'll just treat that other thing we were going to talk about like it was a question, pretty much. It's a question you asked me, so we'll answer it with that. That is about all of the training the gut stuff. But we're going to wrap up today. If you don't follow Shaq on Insta, like I said, Coach Shaq, check him out. He's literally posting like, is it every second day you do your reels? So it's like counting down to his Ironman. I think he's at like 140 something days now. So you can literally watch him train into his 6-hour Ironman event. Very cool. Obviously, if you don't follow me, eat_like_Ruby, you can just watch me keep getting a little bit fatter over the next few months, and then I'm going to get shredded. So watch this space. And then follow the Eat Like Ruby podcast, like I said, because we post lots of content there from the pod, and that's where we're going to post all of our Q&As. I want to do heaps more Q&As over the coming weeks, but we're going to do one right now, and you guys will hear it next week. So we will talk to you then.
See you guys.